Okay, we are back. This is part two. I left off at part one, of course, and we finished up the dividends. So part two, financial management, chapter 9, stocks and valuation. Okay, so now we are looking at, again, just as we came up with using that basic present value, future value formula from probably chapter 2 or 3 of this book, we can now come up with the price. Okay, if we know one period, we can, and it's constant growth, all we have to do is plug the variables that we have into that formula and calculate the price. So again, if we're looking for, actually let me change this. That should, my apologies. Okay. So if we are looking for P1, we know P0, okay? We know the growth, and for 1 year, so we simply plug in the variables and calculate it. If we know P2, we can come up with P3. P2 is 1 plus the growth at 1 year. That will deliver P3. If we want to use the optional computation method to come up with P3, we can, this would be P3 equals PO, 1 plus the growth at the third exponent. Okay? Either way works, arise at the same problem, same answer. Okay, so that is essentially part of this constant growth, okay? Coming up with the dividends and the price. Okay. So let's work a problem, okay? Assuming constant growth. Again, we're looking for PO. We're given D1, the first dividend. We have the return, and we have the growth. So that's the required return. R equals the required return. Okay, we'll get into the expected return later. So if we have all that data and we want to know what the intrinsic value, the real value of that price of that stock, and we have all this, we can use something called the Gordon's model. Okay, and again, simple model, it's a mathematical model, but it helps us get very close to what that price should be. So if someone is suggesting you purchase a price of a stock for X number of dollars, you can figure out what that price probably should be. Okay? And here is the model. Very simple. So P hat is expected, okay? So we're expecting it. It's not a guarantee. It's not absolutely 100% sure, but it's as close as we can get. Because remember, it's constant growth. We know the dividend, okay? We know R. And we can plug all those numbers in and come up with what the price should be here today. Okay? Again, we're always looking into the future of one period for the dividend. Because what you have to remember, a model has to be built, because if it's constant growth, these dividends go on forever. So, you know, how do we bring all that back to the future, to the present? It's sort of a kind of a mind twister, if you will. But this formula gets us as close as we can to that price. So dividend was $1. The required was 12%. The growth rate of the stock, the company, the dividend is 8%. So 1 over 12% minus 8%. Okay. that comes to a expected price of $25, the intrinsic value. Very simple. Now, it might be slightly off from that, but that's what it should, with the required, the growth, etc., the dividends that they are paying. That's what you should be paying. Now, to take it one step further, let's say we want to find out the expected return. Okay? Problem before, we were given the R, which is the required. R hat is the expected. Anything with a little hat on it, okay, that denotes expected. So this is the formula to come up with that. So if we have the price, we have the dividend, we have the growth. Now we just want to find the return. And we're going to use the numbers from the previous problem. Okay, so D1 we found to be $1. The price was 25. The PO, expected price, to be exact, expected is 25 plus 8%. So remember, we want to work this out first, then add the 8%. Okay, and that gives us 12%, which is the same as that 12%. Okay. Take another cup of coffee and let you guys digest it. So let's take it one step further. We want to find again the expected return, except now we're not given the D1. We only have the DO. So that was the last dividend. So think of it this way, that I was paid $1.50 with this stock. I sold it to someone. Okay, now we need to do a couple of things before we can place that into that expected return formula. And you should really pick up on what we have to do. We need, if we want to find that, we have this DO rather, we need to project that out 1 year and come up with D1, the dividend expected for the first year. So we have the growth. So all we have to do is do that simple formula from earlier slide. Okay, if DO is $1.50, D1 equals $1.50 at a 7% growth. That gives us D1. And we have all the other variables. So our hat, our expected with the hat, equals $1.60. Again, we took DO, we grew it by 7% and came up with $1.60. So $1.60 over $30. $30 was given. That was PO. Okay, that was a price expected at PO. We think it's growing. The company's growing at a 7% rate. Okay, again, do this first. That gives us basically 5.3%. 0.053 is 5.3%. Add the growth of 7%, and you should come up with the expected return, 12.3. The expected return should be 12.3. Okay, I'm going to stop here because the next part 3 will be the last part. It's getting into non-constant growth. We just worked on constant growth, meaning the company is growing at 5% forever, 7% perpetually, etc. Next, we're going to get into part 3, which looks at non-constant growth. See you then.